Warner Brothers Games is in a strange position. Last year, they published a game that managed to outsell Call of Duty, and this year, they published a game that is on track to becoming the biggest flops of the year. Yes, this video is going to discuss Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is not a review because no one seems that interested to play this game anyway. This is more of a brief analysis of what happened with this game and what we can learn from its mistakes. Heavy spoilers ahead, but if you haven't already seen them, you probably don't care at this point. Back when the game launched, I was quite sure that I won't be buying it on day one, even if the gameplay seemed interesting. As the days went by and criticisms around the game started pouring in, I started getting a bit curious because Rocksteady has historically put out well received games. How could they suddenly deliver a huge flop? Well, the answer was pretty clear. They switched to a live service model. But to fully understand the issues for myself, I had to play the game. So that's what I did, and here's what I found. First, a quick summary of the events that happened from launch until now, which is the end of April 2024. After almost a decade in development, Rocksteady released Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on February 2nd, 2024. Fans of the studio who were hoping for another single-player story from Rocksteady were already skeptical about playing this live service game, where you play as the villains and try to kill the heroes. The reviews confirmed everyone's worst fears. The game was a mess. The story wasn't that good and it was quite short. The endgame grind was quite boring and there was little incentive to keep playing after the story ended anyway. The only saving grace was the gameplay, which at least tried to set itself apart from other looter shooters. After a disappointing launch, everyone was hoping that the first season, which promised to introduce the Joker as a playable character, would redeem the game. The first season was released on March 28, 2024, and it did introduce the Joker as a playable character, but that was pretty much it. There was barely any new story, and to unlock the Joker, you had to grind for several hours, playing the same old missions over and over, or, in classic live service fashion, you could pay real money to unlock the character instantly. Now, to give credit where it's due, the Joker does bring new gameplay mechanics and is fun to play. But the problem is there's nothing new to play. When a seasonal model is introduced into a story-based game, people expect, at the bare minimum, new story missions that last at least a couple of hours, maybe even stretched across several weeks. But here, we got two cutscenes introducing the Joker and how he joins the squad, and that's it. There are no other missions taking the story forward. And to no one's surprise, the player counts dropped off soon after the community realized that there's nothing to do in the game. Rightfully, players are now worried that the ambitious seasonal model may be scrapped, and the game may be shut down sooner than planned. But what about those of us who play games only for the campaign? Is there anything good here? Well, the criticism around the story is valid. The game seems to be in a great rush to push you towards the end game, which isn't a great experience for someone who comes in expecting a good story from Rocksteady. As for all the negativity around Batman being killed off on a park bench, well, yes, it was a lame scene, but this is a comic book story, and if there's one thing we know about comic book stories, it's that no one really stays dead and can be brought back in any number of ways. Yes, a lot of people found it disrespectful to send off the Arkham games version of Batman in this fashion, but that was an experiment by the developers, and I never blame anyone for experimenting. It's the only way to keep pushing the medium forward. In this case, the experiment failed, the damage is done, and it's time to move on. And looking at the Steam charts, a lot of people have moved on. Anyway, the whole point of the story is to kill Brainiac, the main villain of the game, in 13 different dimensions. The base game's Brainiac is the first one, and each season is said to have one or two Brainiacs each. With a plan like this, fans expected that meeting each Brainiac would push the story forward. But at least from season 1's experience, we saw that there's nothing new being introduced. We simply open a portal, go fight the new Brainiac, and we are done. The gameplay is the only saving grace, with each character in the squad offering their own unique traversal mechanics and gameplay style. For the first few hours, discovering each of these abilities and experimenting with builds can be fun. But soon after running out of content, you realize that it's not nearly as much fun to play the same missions over and over again, even if the gameplay can be good. Coming back to the seasonal model, looking at the response to the first season, I am sure that the developers will be re-evaluating their plans and offer more content with the next seasonal drop. But at this point, no one will be surprised if they just repeat the same thing and offer the bare minimum just to deliver what was promised and then call it a day. After all of the seasonal content is free, so they are under no pressure to deliver a certain amount of content. Look at it this way, there's barely anyone playing the game now. Will it make more financial sense to shut down a dying project and invest time and money on a new project, or to try and revive a game whose core formula itself was rejected by the players? Common sense suggests that this game will soon be dead, but the industry likes a good comeback story, so we may still be surprised. For now, Rocksteady joins the long list of studios who have seen bad launches erase all of the goodwill that they have built up over the years and are now working hard to regain that trust. Good luck, and we wish you well.